Hey kids, you're about to listen to a comedy podcast. That means that none of this is medical advice. If you need medical advice or medical care, please contact your doctor.
Welcome to the Jock podcast,
where we discuss fitness and health and how to incorporate our modern understanding of science and medicine into our daily lives, but without it being so boring. I'm your host, Dr. LeonardSmith.com. I'd like to begin by apologizing to our listeners. We've received some feedback about the excessive amount of technical medical terms that I've been using, such as rhinoplasty and most kids get in free. So I'll try to temper my terminology to a simpler one in the future. Here to help with that is our producer, Cameron.
Dr. London, we are right on the cusp of 2025, and it's time we kind of talk about it seriously.
Okay. So none of the jokes. I can't bring in any of the jokes.
No jokes. Leave the jokes in 2024. 2025 as a year of seriousness and being like for real and being like objective and also being like not like fucking like whatever.
Okay, but so the joke, I only came up with the joke like very recently. So like it hasn't had time to play, you know, in the new year. So I'm just wondering, like, can I get an exception for this one joke that I made?
You can get an exception, but you have a 3-month delay on it. You cannot bring up this joke right now. You have to wait until March. I mean, at the very least.
Okay. And if it comes up naturally in conversation, like, what if I don't bring it up, but like, it's gonna come up naturally in conversation? Like, this is one of those prompt things.
To that, I would say this is the contract you're setting.
Yeah.
So I guess if you broke that contract, you would be fired from the show. Yeah.
Okay. And so this is me saying something just naturally. This is naturally coming up right now.
Uh-huh.
But like, oh, you look like you've been depressed about a car. And then you say like, oh, all right.
Well, okay. Sorry. Can you hold on, London? Dylan,
yes.
Can we? Okay, so we have the whole like depressed about the car arc set for March, right?
Yes.
Okay, right. I'm going to be sad about the car, but then sort of like fall in love with the car and then meet the car. Hey, London, can you not interrupt my meeting with Dylan real quick?
Right, no, sorry about that.
So then I meet the car and then we fall in love.
Yes.
Then we go and we see like different movies together. We see different 2025 movies such as the Alex Garland like war, like pro-war one.
I'm sorry,
and
Cameron, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like you kind of set me up for a joke there. That part with the car you like, it's a Chrysler. Like for depression, crying.
Can I consult with my guy? So London.
Nope.
No, I know you hate it. London's sort of my like business partner, and yeah, he has like a specific joke that like works for 2025. It's not.
Nope.
No, it's not moving the needle in any way.
Nope.
No, I understand you don't like him. Yeah, so London, what was your...
Did he like me? Did he say anything about me?
Sure, what was the joke you were going to say?
Wait, but did he say anything about me? Did he like me?
Yeah, he said you're, like, you have a great podcast.
Okay, yeah. That's good. All right, so we ready to move on? Does that...
Yeah, I think that pretty much does it.
Okay. All right, so that was our producer, Cameron. Also with us is Digital in the house. And later, Cameron tells me that we expect a special guest.
That's right, Dr. London.
But before we move on, I would like to address a bit of listener feedback. So for a long time, our listener demographic was primarily composed of people with suspiciously clean, dry erase boards. Not a hint of use on those things. In our efforts to cater to them, we found they were neglecting the many bot accounts that download our podcast. So this bit of commentary comes from, a comment on our song about Boss Marjorie. They said, this is from @Reckless but spelled with a W, intentions. Quote, "Thank you so much. I can't wait to show her this." Crying emoji. End quote. So thank you so much for this feedback. Yeah, so a lot of people do use our podcast as sort of a way to break the bad news. And like this has been kind of from the beginning. They're like, okay, what will fit the mood of telling someone that someone in their family has a terminal illness, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's been enough years now where people don't realize the way this podcast started was sort of us. Mm-hmm. We did, a fun podcast. We made jokes or whatever, but it was ultimately us telling our boss, Casey Anthony, that she had lost the trial.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's wow. And it wasn't an easy day for any of us, I don't think, right? Because it's your boss. You aren't on the same level necessarily.
No one wants to tell their boss that, like, hey, this podcast empire you've built may undermine, like, the court case that you're trying to build or whatever.
Yeah.
But are you there just to make the boss happy, or are you there to actually do a good job? That's sort of the ultimate question. And we were there to make the boss happy. Yeah.
We were, the job was kind of irrelevant to us because we are all about loyalty to the top dog. And that's what we swore oaths about. That's what matters to us. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much for that feedback. Now for his medical topic, hypernatremia. So, and that's from the root as the primary cause of diabetes insipidus. So, hypernatremia is a state of having increased sodium in the blood. Hyper means more or greater. Na refers to sodium, just like Na on the periodic table, and emia refers to the blood. So, causative examples of hypernatremia include sweating, burns, fever, pneumonia from insensible losses from hyperventilation, diarrhea and diuretics. But hypernatremia due to nephrogenic diabetes insipidus is a loss of antidiuretic hormone, that's ADH, and that effect on the collecting duct of the kidney. So we call it nephrogenic diabetes insipidus because it's nephrogenic beginning in the nephro, that's the kidneys, okay? And it's diabetes insipidus. So it's where this specific type of diabetes hits.
And this is something Miss Frizzle couldn't figure out?
So
I guess I'm confused as like a taxpayer. We paid a shit ton of money to PBS, to, Magic School Bus, whatever, to shrink Miss Frizzle down to deal with these kind of issues, right?
Well, so to some extent. So Miss Frizzle, as it turns out, was more of a diagnostician than like than a prescriber. She would go in there and she would visualize things. But ultimately, an x-ray isn't a surgery. You know what I mean? You send Miss Frizzle in, she'll say, like, yeah, there's your problem. But she's not going to solve it for you. She doesn't know how.
Well, what's the purpose of bringing the kids? Like, why was Carlos there? Like, they're sending Carlos out of the bus constantly.
Yeah, well, have you been around Carlos before? Kind of sucks.
Well, he doesn't suck. Like, he's a kid. But, is he annoying to be around? Sure. For sure.
He's awful. Like, I know his family, too, and they say the same thing about him. Like, oh, God, that kid. Just, ugh.
So your suggestion is that Frizzle should have just left Carlos?
No, it's whatever. I'm not in charge of their thing. But, like, I would just say, like, that they're on more the diagnostic side and less on the treatment side. And Carlos would have screwed it up either way. And like maybe it's okay that it came out this way. But nephrogenic diabetes insipidus is caused by often medications. So like lithium or dimethyl chronic kidney disease, hypokalemia, or hypercalcemia. These make ADH ineffective at the tubule. Okay, so the main issue with nephrogenic diabetes insipidus is ADH, antidiuretic hormone. It's the hormone that makes you not have to pee all the time. That it just, the receptors aren't working properly on the kidney. So patients do have to pee all the time. Clinically, patients with hypernatremia of any cause present with neurological symptoms such as confusion, disorientation, lethargy, and seizures. And if uncorrected, severe hypernatremia causes coma and irreversible brain damage. The best initial response for diabetes insipidus is the water deprivation test. So you prevent the patient from drinking water, and then you observe the urine output and urine osmolality. With diabetes insipidus, urine volume stays high and urine osmolality stays low, even though you increase that urine production and everything.
And so the best cure for this thing is not taking a teacher and her group of like 20 students, shrinking them down to like blood cell size and injecting them into a body. You're saying that's not the ideal way to deal with these issues?
Like, diagnosis wise, that might be faster than like having them not drink water for a little bit, but I don't think that it'll treat the illness as well. Like, I think Miss Frizzle, in terms of just figuring out what's going on, like perhaps that way works, but for, let's say, for something like nephrogenic diabetes insipidus leading to hypernatremia, you want to correct the underlying cause. So that would mean correcting potassium and calcium, stop lithium or dimethylcycline, because those medications may...
And killing Carlos.
Yeah. And then if there's no response, then you also give hydrochlorothiazide or NSAIDs. And then I don't know that Carlos even could have like moved the needle one way or another on that. I just don't think he's a pharmacologist.
No, not after you killed him because of your sort of...
I'm not on the field trips anymore. I like it. You got that. So, Cameron, you said that we have a special guest today. Is that right?
That's right, Dr. London.
Well, hello there. My name is drlondonsvet.com. This is our producer, Cameron. What was your name?
Hi, I'm Charles McJingles.
Okay. And is that a family name? The McJangles?
Well, that's a great question. You see, I'm one of the lesser-known Christmas entities. I am the Christmas auditor, and so I have just kind of existed forever. I've never had parents. I've never been born. I probably won't die, but we haven't. Let me just see the probability of if that could even... It's very slight.
Well,
very
wait.
slight
Okay.
amount.
What does this mean? Like you're part of the Christmas family. I mean, I understand that like Santa is immortal
Yes.
in a certain sense.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you fit into this family? Like, are you part of this family, or are you part of the North Pole ecosystem, or?
The poll made me possible.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know that. So Santa is, the CEO. I only speak to him on rare occasions, but he had his own story and journey where he became Santa Claus, and it's a beautiful story and everything. But I was here specifically for administrative purposes. So once they came to the North Pole, the pole itself has a lot of magical powers, and once they realized that numbers were getting out of control, I was then imagined, and I guess you could say
conjured up.
Gotcha.
Conjured is a good word. Conjured is a good word.
I have a friend, Candy, who she said that the pole really gave her job too. She said it used to be just a thing that she would do kind of for fun, but then she got really good at it. And then, she said similar to yourself, like it's a numbers game. Like you can make a lot. And so I don't know if that's a direct relation But it sounds like polls really help to make money.
No, I'm glad you brought this up. You see, there's a lot of things about the North Pole and Santa's, the larger Santa's workshop that people don't know about. And we have an enormous pole dancing school up here. In fact, some of the best pole dancers actually start their career here. Candy is actually taught for a while. So it was very nice to know her. Nice to see her perform. But yes, we have quite, in fact, I do their books as well. I keep track of everything for them.
And when Candy says, don't go to the back room because you're not going to make as much as you thought, what, in terms of North Pole language, what does that mean?
Well, there's good boys and bad boys. Right.
Okay.
And so when it comes to that specifically, typically that's more of a bad boy behavior that they're not going to make as much money at. They're looking for the good boys, the ones with the mansions, right? They're not looking for the back area, the alleyway, that kind of thing. If there's going to be, let's say, another bull, it should be one of the good boys for sure.
Yeah. Women are really only interested in like money, right? So like that's sort of I get that.
As far as I understand, they love money. Yes.
They love it so much. I want to hear, okay, so you've been part of the North Pole operation for hundreds of years.
Oh,
I mean, things have changed quite a bit, even in the last 100 years. Like it went from, okay, Santa gives these good children like plums for Christmas to now Santa gives like hoverboards and PS5s and like knives and stuff like that. You're overlooking the logistics of this. How does that even happen? Like that happened on your watch?
Yeah, it absolutely happened under my watch. The sugar plums, I mean, that was kind of nice. We could make them, locally.
Sure.
The really what it came down to is finding the right elves for the job. So making sure that we could get, people would call it slave labor, but like making sure that we had the right specific type of elves to be able to make specific things. When it comes to PS5s, smaller hands. There's a lot of small components, that kind of thing.
Can I say real quick? People keep calling it slave labor.
I know, and it's very annoying. Yes. Because I know
think that it reflects negatively.
They're so happy, and that's that's one of the reasons I decided to even take this call was to really dive into this specific misunderstanding.
Right.
I'm not the Christmas lawyer. That's a different person. I could just tell you from my own experience. That the elves are very happy. I mean, they're very happy living, together in one enormous hut. They share, they share one bed. We don't, of course, clean the sheets for them. That is whatever they want to do. We leave it to them, and we keep them safe by locking the door from the outside for when they're done for the season, and we let them stay in there. So. Everything is totally fine, and there really no injuries that are major. Well, some are quite. Actually, some are quite severe. Some are debilitating. But that's the work. That's the work. So
wait. So if you're not dealing with the legal aspect, what do you have an involvement with this sort of off-season situations that are happening? People getting injured or elves getting injured, stuffed in the closet, and there's some sort of like uprising or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, uprisings do happen. Typically, that's where Santa's army comes out and actually takes care of the situation, kind of make sure that they,
gotcha.
they come back. For me, it's mostly about counting the elves going in and then coming back out. Sometimes we get more coming out for the season. Sometimes we get less coming out for the season. There's a certain amount of elves per toy that it needs to be there. And I have to make sure that they're all there. I also count how many fingers they have, limbs, that kind of thing, because that will change over time.
Of course, yeah. No, it's one of those things where whenever I've been in charge of shoving a large amount of people into sort of a closet, for an extended period of time.
Yeah,
I have to worry about them mating and how that might cause certain issues.
Up and down. No pun.
And
yeah,
B, them sort of unionizing and either, physically overtaking me or legally overtaking me. It sounds like you've done a good job of suppressing any sort of elf unionization.
I think as long as we provide toys to what we call the good boys and good girls around the world, and also, we want to make sure, like, they, them, the good, as well. But making sure that they also.
Not to interrupt, I think we can say right now, when we're talking about good boys and good girls, we're talking about good boys and good girls who come from, like, wealthy families. That's what makes them good boys and good girls. Like, this is one thing we've gotten a lot of questions about is like, why did I only receive, like, a sock with a tennis ball in it? And
you got too poor. You just got too poor.
My best friend got, like, a PlayStation 5, and it's like, well, Santa's not... He's not going to go to the sewers and leave trash, leave really nice items in the sewers. He's going to go to the places where he knows it's going to be appreciated.
I don't think the sewers can't take care of it. Sewers can't take care of it at all.
No. Absolutely.
I mean, and you can't even imagine the astronomical amount it costs to dry clean that suit alone.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Well,
we have to have bankrollers
involved. I mean, I at this point, I assume Santa's not actually going down the chimneys. He's sending someone else.
Oh, no. No. He has Santa's little helpers that go down. Yes, they are essentially more elves. We just kind of... people don't understand that actually the sleigh is a lot bigger now.
Sure.
It's him on top. As it always should be, always has been. And then the elves are smushed kind of underneath. There's like a kind of a compartment that they go into. We put them in. Very similar to their hut, actually. But those are special elves that go down the chimneys and stuff. Because sometimes people are armed. Sometimes fires are there. There's a lot of... we need to make sure Santa's okay. The elves kind of make themselves. And so, as you mentioned, the mating, they mate. And so they make more elves. They are the ones that go down the chimney.
I will say this has been a point of contention with a lot of people is that in the last couple years, Santa's little helpers, these local elves that actually go down the chimney, used to be sort of proprietary people that were hired from the North Pole, now have become sort of localized hires, but it's sort of specifically geared towards, people accepting money under the table for less than minimum wage, willing to do these sort of tasks for Santa, because even though Santa is obviously the richest man in the universe.
Oh, by far.
He's sort
I don't live here for no reason. You know what I mean?
Oh no, God, I mean, there's 4 Christmas trees. I don't even know what purpose that could serve.
None at all.
It's just celebrating excess. But I do have to question, I feel like Santa is losing the audience he used to have. Santa used to be a champion for sort of the underdogs. And now he's hiring people off the street and saying, hey, if I give you $3, will you sort of shimmy down a chimney, eat a couple cookies?
I would say,
deliver
less.
This thing for me.
Absolutely. Definitely less.
Less than the $3. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
By far. I mean, I'm surprised. I mean, I'll check again, but let me see here now.
No, because gravity's doing most of the work there. Gravity's doing a lot of the work.
That's kind of the thing. It's a privilege. It's also, you get experience, right? Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a big one. Exposure, to fire sometimes, but it's still, what a way to move up in the company, right?
I have heard you guys consider it sort of like passing the torch with the Olympics. They do that sort of worldwide long thing where they bring the torch from one country to another. You do that with Santa stuff, but it's for, like 5 billion houses.
Yes.
Which to me, that seems like a completely separate thing that would not make sense at all. But you sort of, you tell these people, say, hey, like, this is a privilege.
Well, I have to be completely honest with you. This is something that I don't normally talk about, but it's the only way to get business done. A lot of this, we send out multiple Santas every year. A lot of those Santas, AI. They are just AI driven robots. Okay. The elves don't know that. We don't need to tell them that. We just tell them, oh no, you're working with the real guy. You're working with the big man. But in fact, it's
shit. They're so stupid.
Yeah, it's one of those Boston Dynamic dogs, but we put a hat and a beard on it. That's basically what it is.
Oh my god.
Okay. That's making me really question some of the stuff that Candy told me.
London, is your boss your boss for the last year and a half that you've spent most of your time with? Does it look like a Boston Dynamic dog with a hat on?
Well, I will say this. There is another Boston Dynamics auditor dog that I'm a little worried about.
Sure.
Just a slight bit worried about. He can do numbers a little faster, but he doesn't do good in the snow. So
okay, because I know. Here's the thing I can say for mine. I don't think it's from Boston. That much I think is actually pretty clear. Like the accent is way off from a Boston accent.
Yeah, so you got a robot from the larger Baltimore area dynamics.
Yeah.
Really?
So I mean that's my understanding so far. And once again, Candy admittedly has been more quiet about it. Since because I started to bring up what is this stuff AI? And then she goes really quiet whenever I bring that up. And I'm wondering, because I know she's been cheating on me, but I thought it was with Santa. And if I find out that she's been cheating on me with just an AI version of Santa, what does that say about me? And I'm sorry to bring my personal stuff on here. I just, this is all kind of coming at me quick.
I love this honesty.
Yeah.
I think it's good to get this out. I will also say though that I'm surprised they're not Boston Dynamics. I thought it was. Apparently, we got the knockoff version. So be it. But I
wouldn't call it a knockoff. It's the larger Baltimore area dynamics.
Yeah, I mean, okay. You know what? They've been doing the job, and they've been doing the job very well. I can't say anything against them.
The Orioles are there.
They are Orioles.
Cal Ripken Jr.
That is.
He was there.
Are facts. These are definitely facts.
Cameron's emphasizing this because this has been emphasized to us a lot whenever we confront the robot dog about this.
Oh God! Every time we talk to the robot and we're like, "Are you from Boston?" He starts being like, Cal Ripken played the most games.
Yeah.
He pitched in the most games in a row more than anyone else or whatever.
I have noticed that the dogs have been bringing out Old Bay seasoning at random times.
God. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
This is kind of making a lot more sense.
Yeah. I can't help but feel like really, at least my conversations with the one I thought was Santa have gone so much differently than looking back at what I first expected Santa to talk about, because a lot of the conversations have been revolving around I can do a flip, and just says he can do a flip and doesn't even have to have a person there.
Mm-hmm.
And Santa doesn't have an answer for that because he was expecting a request. You're sort of showing him little tasks.
I'm really excited that I can do a flip. Yeah. Now I can't do a flip, but I've got this. I'm really excited to show him. And the thing is, so with a real Santa, I would expect him to be oh, okay. This dog didn't even say anything except for telling me more about Baltimore.
Yeah, because the real Santa is actually kind of a sloppy drunk. He's just as big. Even right now, if I went to go talk to him, he would just throw an angry bottle at my head. Honestly, I think you've actually done a lot better with the dog. to be completely honest, I think that was the better. You're actually blessed in a way. You really don't want to meet the real guy. He's such a mess these days.
And I
just want the best for Candy, you know?
It's true.
McJingles, remind me, what is your, like, are you a legal help for Santa?
No.
You deal
just the
with
finances, just the books.
Just the books.
Just the books.
Oh yeah.
I gotta ask, this is a tough question. You don't have to say it. We can bleep this out. DJ Dylan, we can bleep this out. But having looked at the books, what are some of the most egregious expenses that Santa has kind of spent the industry money on?
Well, I shouldn't really be talking about this necessarily. Yeah. But here's the thing. I feel like, London, you're a doctor. I feel like there's some confidentiality in this.
Yeah.
He's
seen boobs. He's seen penises and boobs.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Thank you.
And London balls?
Not anymore, but
not anymore, because you're not allowed more after the sort of...
Was it boxing?
No, it was before that one, but yes.
That's what I think.
You weren't even allowed that time. Okay.
No,
anyway,
that was me coming back for more. But yeah.
That always happens with balls. I mean, you can't just see them once.
No.
Well, because they come in pairs, is what I told them.
Exactly. Santa's. Well, I will say, he does take the sled to a specific island that I probably shouldn't be talking about too much, but there are a lot of elves involved, and there's a lot of. There's a little bit of photographic evidence, but it's essentially an orgy of sorts. There's a lot of, tinsel going around, and there's all the stories that you may think could potentially happen. Probably worse than that. There's candy canes up asses. There's people are looking for the North Star, if you know what I'm talking about. It's really Santa's present to himself at the end of the year. It's actually coming up New Year's Eve. That's what he does. And really, I think, and then after that, that's when we put all the elves back in the hut. But for that special time of year, I've been, and I can just tell you it's quite a time.
After last year's, Candy was hospitalized for weeks afterward. We were all kind of holding out for her help, and she did make a full recovery. So
that's great.
And this year, she seems really apprehensive and scared. We've been packing various go bags. She said, depending on what happens this year, we'll choose differently and we'll go a different direction. So
sure. Well, I'm sure pulling out the Christmas lights out of her vagina that year was probably not the best move, but we figured it'd be fine. We didn't think there'd be a problem.
And this, not to ask, but this wasn't the same year or island or whatever where, me and Rudy Giuliani, we were having a fucking laugh. We were just joking around, and we flew to this one island, and we sort of I don't know what you call it, just joking around, but sort of hunting people under a certain height, who might have had maybe magical abilities. Is that?
I was gonna say thought I might recognize you because we do have it's a reindeer shootout. So not all the reindeers, they get a plane will hit them or they won't land right or something. And at that point, they can't. They're not flying, material at that point. We tend to just put them out. People can then go hunt for them. That's definitely a part of Santa's Big Bang at the end of the year. I didn't
shoot at you, right? Did I? If I did, I apologize.
He gets so drunk. It's not like it's a problem on his part. Cameron, like, he's too drunk to tell.
It's not my fault. I get blackout drunk and then I spin in a circle for 12 hours shooting a gun.
If he knew what was happening, he would never.
I would never do that sober. I would if I knew I was sober, I would drink until I was the level intoxicated I needed to be.
Required,
sort of, like whip around in a circle shooting bullets.
Oh yeah. That's what I tell my wife all the time is that, like, well, I don't remember what we did, and and honestly, it's that, it's a fine alibi. I think that's probably one of the more solid alibis that you've got there. So,
well, if you had a good weekend, you shouldn't remember what happened. And also, that's what I tell your wife every single time as well.
Yeah.
Is I have no idea what happened. Please help me. I'm sort of desperate. Please send a ship. Call the police or something.
Mm-hmm.
I say this every single year.
I think I now remember where I've recognized you from. I thought it was from the island. It's actually not. It's. I've seen you sneak out. I've seen you sneak out of the house after being with the wife and stuff. She has been, because she does seem a lot nicer. Lately, and this is all kind of making sense now.
And I'm really sorry about that. Breaking the window is just because that feels like that's my only way out. If you had a door, like maybe a little cuck door that like sort of the affair men,
then I could enjoy.
You can enjoy. I don't really care so much about your viewing experience, but just an access where I can leave without having to break a window. I feel like that would help both of us a lot. You're not having to replace windows. I'm able to go home safely.
Well, you don't need windows in my place. I've got little cameras that you can't see.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but he needs to be able to get out. Is part of the point there. Like, you can watch all you want, but like Cameron does have to get out. He's got stretches to do outside.
Well, I gotta go. Like, I have to.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do my business.
As long as you're one of the good boys,
I have not been.
Do whatever you gotta do. Okay.
I've not been potty trained or whatever, but I know that the backyard is.
That's an advantage.
It's helping me a lot.
Well, I'll say, like, it does seem. I'm really thankful to hear that she's been happier since Cameron's come around, because that has not been the response usually.
Yeah, because my love is numbers. My love is the the ledger I have to fill out every year. Seeing how many presents are here, how many elves we need to put in the hut and take out of the hut, and have them make more elves in the hut. Like, there's a lot of hut economics that go on that's really where I shine the best. And honestly, like, the marriage thing is kind of for show.
Right, like, that's the thing that gives you the most pleasure. For her, the thing that gives her the most pleasure is, like, fingering. Like, if you finger her. And so I just do that a lot.
Yeah, I tried, like, I was like, I've got a calculator. Maybe that might work.
Rookie mistake,
really,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm taking notes.
Women hate when you do the calculator on their vagina.
Okay, really I'm writing this stuff down. This is really good. This is helpful.
Yeah.
And so because I've been trying to talk to Candy about maybe like kissing or something sometime, but so I know I'll just take it back from there, because I've been.
Just don't try multiplication. That's what I'll say. I think if you try maybe more complicated arithmetic, or even just straight up like addition and subtraction, you might work better. Multiplication is, I think it's like, that's a pro's move, and I was an amateur and I tried and it fucking failed.
Okay.
This is getting me all hot and bothered. I'm just going to let you know that now. I'm giving you a heads up.
Yeah.
Like, if we start talking numbers, I gotta excuse myself. I understand. Or you know what? Actually, what am I saying? Keep talking. I'm not. Whatever. If you're into numbers, that's cool too. I'm into numbers. We could always do the books together when you come over.
So I look, as great as and you've been such a good guest, but that's not really Cameron, I don't want to speak for you, but like, I feel like I don't like numbers in that way.
You're saying you can't get it up. As hard as you try, you can't get it up. Okay. You know what? Hey. I get it, man. Not everyone can. At our age, 22?
Yeah. I mean, can I say, like, I can get it up. I just have to prop stuff underneath it.
And both of us, as young Zoomers, or we're Gen Alpha. Is there something after Gen Alpha? We're Gen Beta, Alpha, I guess.
We're
very young. Skibbity Toilet is what my parents
Yeah, they'll love
about.
that name. Yeah.
Because we're super fucking young.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, and on that note, like, so that's why I can't get it up. But like, I've theorized about getting it up, and that's been really good. So, yeah.
Well, like a graph calculator, I hope it exponentially goes up.
Thank you. Honestly, the talk is just, you're losing me here, but well, thank you so much.
Beta.
To Charles McJingles.
That's me.
And is there anyone you're a fan of, especially if they're comedians, say, on social media, that you want to give them a shout out?
Well, we don't really get a lot of reception or anything up in the North Pole, but when I have been to Los Angeles, there is a sketch group called Friendo that performs at a theater called the Hit Theater, which is at the Broadwater, and they perform every other month. Their next show will be in February. It's second Saturdays, 9 p.m. They perform live, and they also have a YouTube channel as well. It's very entertaining. Give them a whirl.
Okay, one whirl. Okay. So if everyone look up Friendo, everyone go to that show that's coming up in a couple months. And thank you so much to Mr. McJingles for coming on and just for laying out just the straight up numbers on how to do the how and cucks.
This is a little much for me. I have to kind of constrain myself from talking, but I appreciate it. I appreciate, it's always great to talk good boys, bad boys, and numbers. You know what I'm talking about?
No, it's been so good to keep chatting. So thank you so much to our producer Cameron. Thank you to Jingles. Thank you to Digital in the House. Also with us is Digital in the House.